welcome to What Are You Saying? Hashtag Ways, where we talk about topics in the news as it affects us all. I am Musaiwa Mesale, and today I'm joined by my amazing co-anchor, Nama Efan. Hello, Nama.
Hello.
Lovely in pink.
Lovely in red. It's pink against red today.
Burgundy, actually.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Burgundy, yeah.
You know, these colors and all these variations, it can be tricky sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah. But yours cannot be tricky.
It is pink.
How are you?
I'm good.
How was your
recovering. Somehow, it's just been a roller coaster. But you know, like we usually say on the show that if we don't look like what we go through. So once you tell somebody that you've got they'll be like, "You're all right, really." But it's wonderful. The week is starting quite. It's a good start, heavy but good, and ways turned too. So the weekend was really good. We had a wonderful time just reflecting and celebrating and really being grateful for what we have the opportunity to share, to be a part of. The wonderful conversation, the very enlightened guests that we listened to with our pens and our papers, just writing down so much. It's been a beautiful learning experience for me, and I'm just excited. I'm looking forward to the future, basically.
Absolutely.
In spite of what we have to go through, we move.
We move. Well, it was.
How has it been for you, anyway?
It was really good. I first like to say thank you.
Roller
so
coaster,
much.
more
Yeah.
like.
Thank you to Uncle Yinka. I always call him Uncle Yinka, but his name is Yinka Debayo, the MD of Media Rich. And the MD of Last Mile also was there. Jimmy Disu.
Jimmy Disu was there.
We had a lot of people that came just to support us. It was quite interesting. And for me, I didn't think it was going to turn out the way it did, but I'm grateful to God because, you know,
you plan
when you do things,
when it's time to execute.
When you do things out of pocket, the pocket will feel it. But I'm grateful.
Heavy.
I'm grateful. Tope Agbeyo was there as well. Thank you so much to everyone that showed up yesterday. It was really interesting for me seeing people just coming out to support us. The truth is, it's not something that you can say this is, you know, we are here. We're not anywhere near where we are going, and we're
but it's a start.
To, yes.
It's a beautiful start.
Yeah.
Trust me. Some people try and attempt huge projects like this, and they fall several times.
Yeah, so, well, I'm grateful to God. Honestly, I'm grateful to God. And I'm also thankful to the entire team at Plus TV that always make sure that we go live every day, Monday through Friday. It's not easy, you know.
Somebody accused you of something.
Of what?
Where did you get all these people around you?
I'm a pimp. I don't know. On social media, the young boy, Sylvester, that died at Dowen College, you know, I was really livid because it was heart-wrenching for me, especially because I have sons in the boarding house. So, I mean, all my children are in the boarding house. I don't have any child that is going to a day school. So just to picture that kind of excruciating pain, you know, and torture for a young boy that is 12. I can't
even say how I feel because I have a 12-year-old. And when I thought about it, I said, this could have been any one of us, our sons, having to go through this pain at such a young age and having to lose his life in the whole process.
I tell you.
It wasn't something that any parent would ever imagine.
Yes, in the right direction, the right kind of
way
things
forward.
that we should be looking forward to doing. And okay, in that light, here's what we found as today's quote. Carefulness rather costs you nothing. Carelessness may cost you your life. This is by Safety Saying early 1900s. You know, this is very important, you know, because if you look at everything that happened, there was so much signs of carelessness.
Absolutely.
You know? Negligence and all of that.
On different levels.
All right, Section 2, I think subsection 1 of the Child's Right Act of 2003 make adequate provisions for child protection as the inevitable and #1 responsibility of primary and secondary parents. The report on violence against children in Nigeria, 2015, published with the support of UNICEF, found that abuse of our children was largely traceable to the lack of a system of child protection within private and public institutions responsible for providing care for children. Now, the report recommended that it was mandatory for every child-focused organization to establish a child protection system as an effective preventive measure for abuse. Now, I said earlier, Taiwo Akilami is here to discuss child protection with a focus on the death of Sylvester Oromoni, God rest his soul, the former student at Dowen College. We'll do that, but first let's take a break to see what we found in the news. You're still watching Ways. Now, on December 6th, St. Nicholas Day recognizes the 3rd century saint who became an inspiration for the modern-day Santa Claus. St. Nicholas is known for selling all his possessions and giving his money to the poor. Raised as a devout Christian, St. Nicholas dedicated his whole life to serving the sick and suffering. Legendary stories about St. Nicholas later became part of the inspiration for the modern-day Santa Claus. So you can observe St. Nicholas Day by incorporating some St. Nicholas Day tradition into your holiday season. Slip a gift or a surprise into someone's shoes. It doesn't have to be anything elaborate. Just do something small. So that's Happy St. Nicholas Day. All right, so I thought we were going to have Uti, but apparently.
We're going to have us soon.
Yeah. So you know what? Let's just go on a break because I think Uti is ready for us. We'll go on a break and bring in Uti, then we'll be right back to discuss what
Increase the reach of your events or business services. To advertise on Plus TV Africa, please call 0906 000 5719 or 0909 040 8408 or send an email to marketing@PlusTvAfrica.com. Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.
We do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker.
All right, thanks for staying with us. Thank you, Uti, for joining us.
Hello.
How are you? How was last night?
Good.
Have you recovered?
No. As you could tell, I sound a bit like
Oh
a
my
frog.
goodness, you sound like me.
Yeah, exactly. So we all sound the same way. I just tried to put my feet in my shoes and I realized my feet are obviously still swollen.
Sure, you were the one doing shakara.
But you know,
By the time I flung my shoes, I did not know. Well, I wore slippers. They'll be all right.
Comfort was key for me. Comfort.
I mean, I went for comfort. I think I just wore the wrong shoes to start off with. The second ones were actually really
very
comfortable.
comfortable.
But
But the
the
damage,
damage
was
was
already
done
done.
by then. But
Already.
you know, beauty is
It's pain.
Mm.
All right, so let's quickly move on to what we found in the news. Let me start with you, Nama, quickly. I'll come to Uti.
All right, so for me,
It's this case about open defecation. FG stakeholders reject bill on Clean Nigeria Agency. So the Federal Ministry of Finance, Environment, and other critical stakeholders in the environment sector on Monday were overwhelmingly rejected the bill which seeks to establish Clean Nigeria. You know, in Nigeria, the case about a lot of people just defecating everywhere, it's really, it's a pandemic. Let me put it that way. And unfortunately, the bill was rejected. I don't know why. So my question is, the people that the Ministry of Environment, how do they intend to tackle this? Because it's a major problem. And you know that all of this is part of what is causing all kinds of diseases and sicknesses around. The environment are completely unhealthy for people, for the Nigerian citizens.
It's interesting when they shut down the Third Mainland Bridge. When you go through, what's that place where you now go through, where you divert?
Qatar Bridge.
It's openly done.
No, they even line up.
Openly.
Turn by turn. I'm telling you.
Wow.
The term is a known
There's
destination.
some areas along Osborne Road.
Yes.
Openly.
It's horrible. Like, how do you do that? And it's mainly guys that do that.
But it speaks to a bigger problem, though. So clearly we don't have enough facilities because these people obviously don't have an alternative. If they had an alternative, I mean, I'm not sure anybody wants their backside out in public.
No, men
Well,
do.
a lot.
Let's move on.
All right. So my headline, it's been in the news for the last how many weeks now, or even maybe days. So Omicron, travelers stranded in Lagos and Abuja airports. So of course I don't know if I should even call it dreaded. It's like it's overhyped. COVID Omicron, the new variant of COVID-19. It's obviously really attacking and taking its toll on the aviation sector. Obviously following the change in travel rules by countries like Canada, the United Kingdom, to curtail the spread of this new variant of COVID-19. A lot of international flights were cancelled, to understand. I believe it was British Airways which cancelled their flight coming in and going out. And they sort of announced that, those flights were cancelled due to operational issues. The British High Commission has also gone on to suspend the issuance of temporary visas to red list countries, which of course now includes Nigeria. So of course, as the rules changed and came into effect as of 4 a.m. today, Nigeria became a red list country. Of course, what that means is if you are non-citizens are not allowed in, and then citizens and permanent residents who are able to travel in must mandatory quarantine for 10 days at a cost of, I think, just under £2,500, which is crazy.
That's crazy.
And just before the Christmas period, when people now have to start making decisions, people's kids were planning to come back to Nigeria for Christmas. Some people were planning to go to the UK for Christmas. There's so many logistical issues. I have a colleague who has 4 kids and herself, 5 people who have tickets to travel to the UK on the 20th. If they were to go, it will cost them over about £12,000
to do the test.
To
do the quarantine
for 10 days.
That's crazy.
So I mean,
£2,500.
that kind of money is a down payment on a house. That's a car on the road.
Exactly.
For 10 days of accommodation. I mean, if you spend £12,000 in Dubai, you'll be staying in one of the best
I'm telling you.
I mean, it really is crazy to see that this is where we find ourselves. Interestingly for me, I've been trying to find out. I haven't heard of a death from Omicron. The scientists in South Africa say it's a mild variant. So I'm a little bit confused as to why there's such a huge kerfuffle about this,
as well,
given that vaccinations have spread. And, so it's just very interesting. But I never want to cry foul, but it just seems like Africa is just being unfairly targeted. I can't see any reason for this. We've largely gotten through COVID. I don't want to say unscathed because people have lost their lives, but compared to the rest of the world, we've done a lot better. So I'm amidst. I don't understand what's going on, but to those who have travel plans, I mean, even I'm affected. But,
yeah, you are. I was going to say that. But you know what? Let's move on. Oromi's family hires Femi Falana against Dowen College. This is just to give us an update that the family of Sylvester, late Sylvester Oromoni Jr. They've hired Femi Falana as their legal counsel. So this is just to give us an update. So we're going to take a break. That's our conversation today, right? just talking about preventing child or any form of harm that comes to children when it comes to schools and public places. Yeah, stay with us. We'll be right back.
For me, I wanted to change that culture. I didn't believe that until you see a white man or you see a foreigner in the kitchen before you can believe that, you know, good food is going to come out of that kitchen.
You can leverage on each other's spaces and, you know, sell. We believe in Nigeria, right? We believe that Nigeria can get better. We, the youth, are the ones that can make it better.
And my products are proudly made in Nigeria.
Made in Niger, showing every Tuesday at 10:30 p.m. and repeats on Saturday at 8:30 a.m.
This is it for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Bookie November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on PlusTvAfrica.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Businesses in Africa can be very challenging. In Nigeria, it is particularly intimidating, and successful builders have learned how to navigate a hostile environment to unlock opportunities. But one major challenge businesses face is how to filter through the noise and identify where their ideal customers exist. Get insight and practical steps from industry players and captains of industries. Hear success stories to help you make informed decisions as you scale your business in Nigeria. Watch Business Insights at this time on PlusTvAfrica.
Politics has helped shape the decision of the polity, from conspiracy theories to good old-fashioned comic politics.
These are the results of tomorrow's election. You have it already, have you?
I am not hungry. If I need appointment, all I need to do is to start praising government.
Plus, politics will fill the polls of the country, from friends to frenemies, even strange bedfellows, to clones and stooges. We go beyond the rhetorics and the drama to analyze the story behind the story.
Let anybody come and say. The moment we stop having charlatans occupy political offices, we will curtail hate speech.
Plus Politics, not just another political show. It's about putting you, the citizens, in the know.
Thanks for staying with us. Now, violence against children occurs in homes, families, schools, communities, and other places where children should feel safe. Abuse is in all its form are a daily reality for many children, and only a fraction ever receive help. Now, according to UNICEF, 6 out of every 10 children experience some form of violence. 1 in 4 girls and 10% of boys have been victims of sexual violence. Of the children who have reported violence, fewer than 5 out of 100 received any form of support. And the drivers of violence against children, that's VAC, are rooted in social norms, including around the use of violent discipline. Now, borrowing from our guest, Taiwo Akinlami's word, in his recent publication, every nation which cares about her children do not pay lip service to their safety. They do not hope, they make sure They do not wish, they will. They do not pitch, they rest their tent around a fit of anger occasioned by a sad occurrence like Sylvester's. They immortalize the occurrence and find closure and justice in institutionalizing prevention as the cure through a tested system. So what changes should we expect from ourselves as individuals and institutions on matters concerning safety for our children, or the safety of our children? Now, please, let us hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-84663. So I want to just hear a thought or two from Noma and Uti before we bring in Taiwo. Tell me, first of all, so we all know what has happened, right? Should these kinds of cases continue to be at the front burners of our conversations in this country? Because Sylvester is just one out of many. There was a young girl in Abuja that a used condom was found inside of her. Till today, no explanation. Only yesterday, my own school that I'm always praising, an email surfaced online where they were talking about a girl in 2004 that was sexually molested, and she never found justice. Thankfully, the school has written, they've replied online, and they're saying they're looking into it, because most of the staff that were there at that time, they're all left. But imagine since 2004, imagine the trauma. Up till now that she's writing the story, she's still feeling the pain. That is damage that cannot be quantified.
It can't be repaired.
Do you understand? Damage, you can't quantify what kinds of, some of this kind of violence, what kind of damage it will do to the person. You see an adult acting crazy, it changes life. You do not know the extent. So let me just hear your thoughts on this, when it comes to school safety, and I'll bring in Taiwo Akilami.
For me, I don't think that so when you said it's at the front burner, I don't even think it's at the front burner enough, because it's been happening. It happened when we were in school. It keeps happening. We've gone from an era of silence and acceptance. We're now going into an era where the schools are unregulated and they are now covering up. You've gone from frying pan to fire, from bad to worse. And I mean, I like to always talk about Nigeria in a somewhat positive light, but this is just going with the flow, the way Nigerian things go. Our schools are now, majority of our schools are, private schools where we are seeing these things happen now, largely unregulated in the way that a child would lose their life, that a parent would put their child's safety in the hands of an organization at an exorbitant fee. And the safety of the child is still not guaranteed. And then the school lacks what appears to be the integrity to own up to the truth. It's very sad to see.
Very sad. No, let me hear your thoughts quickly.
It's very disturbing, because already I would want to say that even though this is not new, right, it takes me back in time to when we were in school, and the trauma a lot of people, I currently have people who don't want to hear anything about their time in boarding school and what they had to go through. Anything that will remind them about that time in their life, they shut it down, because some of them are yet dealing with the trauma of several years back in their lives, right? So bringing it back to 2021 and taking it from where Uti stopped, where you say that in these times, we still have it at a magnified level. And now we have social media that brings it to the fore. Coincidentally, even my alma mater was also in the news recently about a young girl. Looking at that video, I saw a young girl traumatizing the person, 16, 17, 18-year-olds. And you have come to the point where you can victimize other students. So abuse has been there from day one. It has always been.
That now is
but
the level.
Paying attention to it is the part two. A lot of
parents' rights to social protection advocate and publisher. Akilami is arguably Africa's foremost child protection thinker and practitioner. His unique philosophy and teachings on family, strengthening child protection and related matters have been well received in over 133 countries. Akilami is also a prolific writer, poet, and blogger, and he's a friend of the house, always always answering our call. Thank you so much.
Let me first commiserate with the parents of Sylvester. I think in a sense I feel the pain of the parents. 15 years after getting married, we welcomed our first child. That child is just 6 weeks old. I can tell my emotional attachment to that child.
Already.
I can tell of the sleepless nights. I can tell of the sacrifices we made during pregnancy and when the child has been born. 6 weeks. If I feel that way, this way towards that child, how much more?
12 years.
12-year-old of labor, of support,
Training.
of training. Then in a place that is supposed to be the safest, not NSAS. The boy did not go for NSAS protest. It was not at Lekito Gate. It was in school where the parents sent him to. And in that place, under the glare and the watch of those who are supposed to protect him, his life was snuffed out of him. It wasn't even in Ajagbadi primary school or secondary school, somewhere in the bush, somewhere in the outskirts of Lagos. It's in a sophisticated, supposedly school.
In quotes, yes.
In quotes. And it is in that place that life was snuffed out. Somebody dropped the ball. The facts of the case revealed that. But I want to start with the provisions of the law. Section 2 of the Child Rights Act, 2003, which has been domesticated in 25 states of the Federation. Says, and let me quickly quote, a child to be given protection and care for his well-being. A child shall be given such protection and care as it is necessary for the well-being of the child, taking into account the rights and duties of the parents, legal guardians, or other individuals, institutions, service agencies, organizations, or bodies legally responsible for the child. Now, subsection 2. Every person, institution, service, agency, organization, and body responsible for care or protection of children shall conform with the standards established by the appropriate authorities, particularly in the area of safety, health, welfare, number, and suitability of their staff and component supervision. Now, the law is clear, but when the law is clear, implementation is not always clear. So this law speaks about appropriate authority, standards. So what is the standard of running a school in Nigeria on paper? In 2015, there was a report on violence against children. This report found very disturbing statistics, established very disturbing statistics of the abuse of children. On the basis of that report, 2015, there was now a priority action, which says that one of the reasons why children are abused, particularly in institutions, is because there's no system in place, child protection system, for the purpose of protecting these children. And so that priority of action now recommends that it is now mandatory for every organization working with children to establish a child protection system, codified into policies, broken down into processes on which everybody is trained on their role. And this policy must be reviewed from time to time. So what is a policy? A policy, what is a system? A system is coordinated approach when it comes to child protection. Coordinated approach to anticipate the needs of children, to anticipate the threat to them, to make adequate preparation, to meet those needs and mitigate those threats well before they arise according to standard, according to global standard, according to the letters of the law. Now, the question today is, how many schools in Nigeria are living according to the tenets of that provision? The question today is that you are teaching British curriculum. The Britain, where you brought the curriculum from, do they run their school without a child protection system?
No.
Codified into policies, broken down into processes? UAE there, you cannot run a school without a child protection system, codified into policies, broken down into processes. The other day, British Council invited me to talk to a group of schools. So when I finished speaking to them, when Sauda's son were having that conversation, when we finished the conversation, and I was having, during lunch, over lunch, I was talking to a school owner, and the school owner told me, said, Mr. Akinlami, all this thing you are saying, child protection will task school. That is, child protection does not sell a school. This is a leader of a highbrow school. in this Nigeria. He said, child protection does. I said, so what sells school? Motivation. Encourage the parents. They should believe. He said, that is what sells school. Now, that is under a platform that invited them and was trying to let them see, because at that time, British Council took a decision. We are not going to do any training for any school without bringing in the component of child protection. And so they brought me in to do that part of the conversation. And they gave me the opportunity to interact with schools. Some schools saw the point that we were making. But a particular school told me that child protection does not sell a school. Now, safety does not sell a school. Protection of children does not sell a school.
Who's at fault?
So the question there for me, and it's one of the things that we talked about.
Because parents are more concerned about grades. They are more concerned
about grades because now they can afford to buy grades.
The school.
But for the schools, for me, the question is, when parents today are going to these schools, because my point of view is, do you share the same values of your school? I don't know if you saw the video that trended a few months ago of a 2-year-old, 3-year-old, where they drove a brand new GX 460 into the school. It was a present for the boy. And the school brought out all the children.
And lined
them up to see the car and clap and present. You know, now what values should we be looking for in schools? Because if we even say that child protection is a stretch, at the very best, parents, you are protecting the rights of your child. What should they be looking for? What are the important things? Because clearly, as parents, we've missed the mark.
Well, for me, number one, we need to understand that the number one responsibility of a school is not to teach. It's to protect children.
Absolutely.
Because they have a duty of care. Yeah. Once you drop your child to a school, the school has a duty of care to protect children. If you cannot vouch for the school to protect your children, then you have no business putting your child there.
That's cool.
You know, when you on your phone, you have 3-level security. You know, you can't go and publish your account PIN number. You can't publish on the sign on the billboard. These things are supposed to be less important than a child. Then when it comes to a child, you just look at what the school says about itself. You won't ask the critical question. Do you have in place a child protection system? Let's see it. Let's see whether it's
your laws against bullies.
What are your laws against bullies? And let me tell you a pathetic story. My client relocated from the UK 4 years ago. And in the way people look for schools, she looked for a school. And they told her, this is a very good school in this Lagos. And she registered her child there on the recommendation of the father that her younger sister registered her child in that school also. So this boy was allegedly sodomized. The 10-year-old was allegedly sodomized. And so we were invited into the matter. So we wrote to the school to say, there's an allegation that our boy was sodomized in your school by 2 seniors. The school did not bless our letter with the courtesy of a reply. So I called the school to say, but you saw our letter. They said they did. So they invited us for a meeting. We showed up at the meeting. And I was in the meeting, my client was in the meeting, and at the end of the day, I asked them, have you spoken to the children that allegedly sodomized our child? They said they've spoken to them, we've called them, they denied it. I said, so you've spoken to the children, but have you spoken to their parents? They said, no, we don't want to escalate. You don't want to escalate, and you have spoken to the children. I said, so I can't be part of this meeting until the parents of those children that has been alleged to have sodomized these children, this our son, whom you have spoken to. You have spoken to the children. Will it make sense to you as a school that it is from the children that the parents will hear that they were questioned for sodomizing a boy? It is an allegation. So the school said, okay, let's come back for the meeting. We went back for the meeting. The school was trying to deny. The stock in trade of schools most of the time is to deny when something happens. Look at Sylvester. You said he was playing football. Let's assume without conceding that he was playing football. When it means he was exercising his right to play. If he was exercising his right to play, a child has the right to play, does not have a right to unsupervised play. Unsupervised play. If you are playing football and the football becomes violent, the referee, even among adults, will stop the match.
Yes.
Not to talk of children. Which is, so let me round up my story. So I asked them, they were denying, they didn't. I said, okay, well, I just want to ask you a question. Do you have a child protection system codified into policies, broken down into processes on which everybody is trained, including the children and parents? They said they don't have. I said, number 2, do you have an anti-bullying policy that you take the children through? At what point do you involve parents in anti-bullying, in bullying and all of that? They said, we don't have. I said, okay, our case is different. Our case is now that We are not now saying it happened. Our case is that you do not have in place the machinery to prevent it. That is our case now. You could not have prevented it because you don't even have anything. And at the end of the day, the school, refused to be sober. My client also gave up along the line and all of that. But the truth of the matter is this: that shows you. Now, this is not a roadside school. These are highbrow school, and the matter. The matter is about this impunity. The fact that nothing is going to happen.
Yeah.
Because Sylvester is not the first child to die in any school. Children have died in highbrow schools, not today. Let me tell you some pathetic stories of children that have died. I've studied in the last 15 years circumstances under which children have died. A child was asthmatic, went to a school, had an attack. They were supposed to give him intravenous injection, right? They called the doctor. The doctor said he was busy somewhere. Gave the phone to a matron who was not medically trained to give that boy an injection. And that boy was injected, the boy died. That happened in Nigeria. Now, everything I'm saying to you, I know the people it happened to. Look at the case of a child who was not a member of the swimming club of a school. He wasn't a member of the swimming club. He found his way into the bus to go and swim. They got there, the lifeguard of the hotel where they normally swim was not on ground. These are findings from inquiries that have been carried out. They got there, the lifeguard was not there, those children were still swimming. Then the person who took them there strode away. Then another child who was trying to find a swimming goggle swam to 8 feet because the child knew how to swim and found this child under the water, gasping for breath. The first call for help was not heeded, which means the guy there who took them there was not there. And so at the end of the day, this boy was rushed to the hospital, he died. A school is established in a place, highbrow school. The hospital of first respondent was 1 hour, 30 minutes away. When there is traffic, when there is no traffic, 1 hour, 15 minutes away. So a child was playing in school and in the night hit his forehead on the bunk of a bed and on the edge, and the boy started bleeding. It is sad to note that nobody within the school system could stop the blood. They put the poor boy inside the car and began to drive him 1 hour or thereabout. Of course, he got to the hospital and pronounced dead. All these things that I'm telling you, coroner inquiries have been carried out to establish this case. Look at the Abuja case of a child whose parents found condom in. Until today, nothing has been done. So the problem today is not that children do die in school. It is the fact that they die in vain. They die in vain. We make noise. We forget about it after a while. And we cannot continue like this. And that's why I'm saying that government is culpable. Because you see, what role does government play in education? Government owns schools, right? And government also play regulatory role. But today, government has failed in providing school, providing education. 13.5 million children are out of school. They are increasing by the day, right? And so a government that cannot run school and provide education, are they the one that will regulate schools? Where I come from, if they say in my dialect, a man's father dies, a man's mother dies, he went to put the mother in the bush, did not give the mother befitting burial. On your own deathbed, you now told him that, please, so when I die, please give me, this person is not even your son. To his own mother, he didn't give the mother any kind of burial. On your own deathbed, you now say, please, so you are my hope, give me. It's not going to happen. If a government does not run their own school, how are they going to regulate? Those who come to equity must come with clean hands. Even the schools that government have, you can see the gory pictures, bizarre pictures that you see of the circumstances under which children are led.
They even have those policies, those safety policies. But you know what, let me take a break. Let's just go on a very short break. When we come back from the break, it's very short, we'll be right back. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. Now, if you just tuned in, we're having a very, very, I don't know what to call this conversation. Yes, it's a very intense conversation with Tanwa Kilami on ensuring safety in our schools. Now, please let us hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-8463. We have a comment. I just want to quickly read this. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On ensuring safety in our schools, everyone who works in school deserves that. From the administrative staff to teaching staff, non-teaching staff to students, all deserve that as well. I don't understand. Are you saying they deserve safety as well? But as the saying goes, all students are equal, but some are more equal than others. I think you have some comments, then we'll come back to time.
So, I'll take this one. It says, the fact is things have gone very bad. This is speaking as a former boarder who took my fair share of bullying from immature seniors. I advise parents to ensure their kids are day students, if possible for the junior classes, and possibly become boarders in senior classes. It reduces the tenor of abuse.
Term, spare the rod, spoil the child. Kids are meant to believe they can't be corrected with love, but rather with bullying and violence. And those kids go out and treat others same. It's high time we evaluate our ways of raising kids. We should raise kids with love, correct them with love, and allow them to blossom to their full potential. Which brings me to the question that I wanted to ask parents. How intentional can they become in being able to help their children? As in, this is a menace, right? And for me, I totally agree that it begins from the home. There are 3 places that you experience life and become who you are, and that is from upbringing, from the environment that raised you, and the emotional experiences that you go through. And we see these cases of, I was having a conversation with someone recently, and I said, the victims become those who begin to victimize others. Some of these people who are bullies were once being bullied, and then suddenly they also become the predators that we see today. How do parents become intentional in helping to raise? I know that the society that we live in is tough. How do parents become intentional? First of all, aware of what is going on. Case in point, Sylvester's case, because we can hear this, talk about it, and move on. How do we begin to raise really serious awareness for parents to pay attention to the impact that they have on their children and how it ultimately impacts them even while they're in school?
I empathize with the Nigerian parents. Nigerian parents is going through a lot. A lot. You think about school fees, think about rent, you think about security, you think about everything.
Yeah, your own government.
Nigerian parent is every parent in Nigeria is a local government chairman, responsible for everything. So I empathize with parents, and I cannot sit here and condemn any parent. What I will say, however, is that since you have brought these children to this world, you are laboring to pay school fees. School fees is not your problem. If it is your problem, one way or the other, you have been able to solve that problem. Add a bit of intentionality to that labor. Ask critical questions. What machinery, you may not even say child protection. What machineries have you put in place to ensure that my children are safe in this your school? How regularly do you train your teachers? What system is in place? These are questions we must ask, because if you don't, it's gone are those days where you go to school and say, are my children safe? What are they going to tell you? They're going to tell you the children are safe. It is your responsibility to ask the question, what machinery have you put in place to ensure that my children are safe? And those are the questions most parents are not asking. For example, in Dowen, it has been said now that PTA was forbidden. Parents were not allowed to meet. And in a school where people, are informed Nigerians, a school will tell you that you cannot meet to decide the future and the present of your children.
And you said decide how you want these parents accountable,
and to decide how you want to decide how you want to partner with them, and with the level of your information, with the level of your exposure, as someone who has done well for himself or herself, you accept that as a way to go. I found that very, very sad, very, very unacceptable. So you see, if you register a child in a private school, you are a customer. If you are a customer, you have the right to ask questions. And customer is always right. Now, the only foolish question you will ask in a school is the question you refuse to ask. And if they tell you that your questions are foolish, then they are not wise enough to receive your children and to receive your money. So, but the unfortunate thing is that parents don't pay attention to these things. They just believe that all will be well. And they just believe that it's God that will look after the children. As if God is going to come down from heaven to look after these children. God is going to use people to look after the children. When the system does not work, then there's a problem. So there was a question you were asking me, boarding school. You see, the whole idea of boarding school started from parents who share certain values, who were looking for how to validate these values, who found people who represent those same values and send their children there to experience those value systems so that the children can see that these things that are being said in our home is not unique in the sense that it's general, it's something that is noble. Other people are practicing it. That's how the whole idea of boarding school began, before it became institutionalized, which means if you are going to send your child to a boarding school, the number one question to ask is that, is the school in conformity? Did they share your value system? Because when you send the child to school, I think 2010, a woman called me to say, Mr. Clam, please, can I send my 8-year-old to boarding school? I said, well, that's not a question I'll be able to answer because I don't have the facts to answer that question. I said, what do I mean? Is your child, how did you train your child? Is your child independent? Because how independent you want the child to go and get in boarding school? That's why people say, I send my child to boarding school for independence. No. The child in boarding school,
has to be independent
and what do you call independence? That he can wake up, he can go and wash clothes. That's not independence.
That's not independent.
That's routine. Yeah. That's home chores. If you can't get your children to do home chores at home, and you're not sending them to boarding school to achieve that, it's not going to work. Yeah. So, is this child independent? Is the child a representative of the value system of your family? Can this child speak for himself or speak for herself? Can he stand up for himself or stand up for herself? Now, the school you are sending the child to, does the school have a child protection system, codified into policy, broken down into process? I said, madam, those are the questions you are going to ask. But bizarre things have happened, where a child was being sexually molested, sodomized in a school, went to meet the school chaplain. The school chaplain just prayed for him. The eyes will not see you again. I'm telling you true life stories. The eyes will not see you again. It will there with you. And of a truth, for close to 1 month, these boys did not come up. So the chaplain called him. Did they come? He said, "They come." You see, our God is good. And so they came again. At this time, you know what the boy did? The boy said, "I want to call my mom. I really want to call my mom." Called the mom. That was the day the mom went to pick him up. A boy was brought to me, registered in a school outside Lagos, eyebrow school. He did 1 term. 2nd term, he told the parents he wasn't going. They said he must go. You must go. Do you know how much we have paid? Do you know how people labor to get into that school? So when they drove into the school, the boy told the mom, 12-year-old boy, he said, "Mom, once you drop me here now, you're not going to see me again. You're not going to see me again. I'm going to run away." Then the mom called the dad, "Come and hear what your son is saying." Then the dad asked them to bring him home. Then they brought the boy to me. When you bring a child to me, I'm interested in the root cause of the problem. There's a reason why the boy is thinking. This is a boy who went to that place joyfully 3 months ago.
He doesn't want to
and came back home and said he wasn't going to go. The boy said for 3 months, he was sleeping with his eyes opened because seniors were trying to sodomize him. He prayed. He did everything he knew how to do to escape that 3 months. And because my parents would not listen to me as to what my issues are, they wanted to take me back to that school. I've run out of options, as a matter of fact. When I go back there, they are just going to sodomize me this time. And that's how, the mother knelt down in my office and said, Father, I said, look, you didn't need a consultant. You didn't need an external. Listen to this boy.
And that is where I'd like to come in, because when we started to see the stories unfold, there was a very disturbing story about Sylvester's sister and the experience that she had, which they were asking him certain questions about her, to which the father said they pulled the sister out of the school. But you left him in the school. What could possibly be the justification for that? I mean, we don't know.
Because again, sometimes we feel that because he's a boy.
It just comes to speak to this issue. And this is where we were having a conversation about this yesterday, and I said, I'm sorry. A child's life has been lost. But parents, we have a task to do. And I want to even step a bit further back. In this country, we treat childbirth like a right. There's no intentionality to having children, to parenting. We just think that the trajectory of life is
you marry,
it is a real problem.
I don't know how people cope. Honestly.
Because today, my child doesn't speak my language, we speak English. And we say it with pride. And all these things we see today, bullying is not new. But like I said, it is getting to a point of excess. Where now, like you said, schools are no longer even willing to confront the parents.
But I want to say that though, I like what is happening now. Because, I mean, just today, my son actually did something in school. I told you he had a cut that they had to stitch. You know, I told them to give him injections and all. They called today. This thing happened like maybe a month ago. They just called today to explain again. Wow. So because everybody everybody's on alert. Everybody's on alert because you see, worried, and I'm worried, and that's why I say that I will never exonerate a parent. Yes, you can empathize with us as parents, but we are the problem of this. Why these things continue? Okay, because if parents come together, I have withdrawn my child from a school before, not because they did anything to my child. I saw what they did to another person's child. I have sacked a nanny before, a housekeeper, because of my neighbor's child. Because I didn't want anything to happen to my neighbor's child. Not that the boy did anything to me. He was going to go and be dating the girlfriend. I said, no, by the time you start, and she had girls. I thought about so many things. But how many people are considerate?
But this is the point I want to make to you. If we're going to solve this problem, it has to be, we have to look at the many parts of it.
Absolutely.
Because there are many parts to it.
Absolutely. Responsibility.
In a country, there are 4 rings of protection. The family, the community, the state, the international community. You don't depend too much on the international community because it's a game of interest. But you can depend on the family. You can depend on the community. And you can depend on the state.
If the state understands.
Now, this is the issue. What I'm saying to you is this today, as a way of concluding. If you register your child in a school, or you take your child to a resource center or a recreation center and all of that, and you do not ask the question, you don't have in place child protection policy. You see, the law is clear. Section 2 of the Child Act is clear. If they don't have those standards in place, they are a potential crime scene. They are a potential crime scene. When you register your child there, you are an accomplice. Somebody asked me this afternoon, are you saying that parents who did not ask questions and put our child there? I said, the child is an accomplice. It's when we begin to prosecute people, when you know that this thing that you are doing, because you can't put your child in front of a trailer and the government will say you should go free. If you do not do your own investigation, you are registering your child in a crime scene. You are running a crime scene, you are supporting a crime scene, and crime must happen on a crime scene. And so we are surprised that crimes are happening in a crime scene, because when you create the enabling environment for crime must happen. And so that is why it is fundamental today. I call on parents, engage schools. Engage schools. Ask them critical questions. Let them understand that, and you are not going to rest until you get a response to your question. When they are too tired for your question, they are too tired to take your child on. They are too tired to collect your money and all of that. But ultimately, the state is the father of everybody. The state must ensure. It's not enough to close down Doen. I know what they will be doing is to try to press button, ask questions here and there. But as you have locked down Doen now, what are the circumstances what are the conditions for reopening?
Absolutely. Let's quickly take some comments.
So I'll take this very quickly. Good evening. If Nigeria was interested in child safety, there would be no kids hawking or selling on the streets trying to survive. A lot of children are out of school and are breadwinners in the home. Who guarantees their safety, and why and when they are taking on adult roles? Let's face facts. We are apathetic. We shout out when something happens. Give us another headline news and we move on. We have a second one from Benson who says, greetings, Waste team. Impunity is the word, and this is gravely propelled by the supervising organ, the government authorities. Sadly, all they care about is how they are settled. This gives room for schools to do as they like. After all, they have settled.
Before we go, do ensure you follow us on Instagram at PlusTvAfrica. You can drop a comment, and most importantly, we have started a giveaway to say thank you to you for believing in the Waste brand. So do well to follow us now. It's at PlusTvAfrica. If you missed today's quote, here it is again. Carefulness costs you nothing. Carelessness may cost you your life. We have seen in this case, it has actually cost somebody a life. So we are not going to be live from tomorrow all the way to Friday, but we'll come back live on Monday at 8 p.m. as we'll bring you another great conversation. Enjoy.